Now let's look at the controls you use to start the engine. First of all, the throttle controls the engine speed, the RPM. For starting, you normally open or push the throttle forward about 1/4 of an inch. The mixture control is the red knob, just to the right of the throttle. Now, airplanes have a mixture control so that you can keep the engine running smoothly as you climb to a higher altitude. Pushing forward on the mixture knob increases the fuel in the fuel and air mixture. Pulling it back decreases the mixture. Pulling the knob all the way back shuts off all fuel going to the engine. In fact, you shut down the engine by pulling the mixture all the way back to what we call idle cutoff. The master switch has its name because it controls all the electrical power for the airplane except for the ignition. The master switch must be on to use electrical systems like the starter. The auxiliary fuel pump is an electrical fuel pump which is turned on and off with a switch on the lower side, left side of the instrument panel. It is used to help start the engine and as a backup to the mechanical fuel pump on the engine. Before starting, briefly turn on the auxiliary pump to push some fuel to the engine for what we call priming. You can hear the auxiliary pump run and see the fuel flow indication on the instrument at the left side of the instrument panel. The ignition switch is a key switch similar to the one in your car. The ignition switch has 5 positions labeled off, R for right, L for left, both, and start. The R and L positions allow you to test each of the 2 ignition systems before takeoff. The starter will turn over the engine when you turn the switch past the both position to start. After the engine starts, release the pressure on the switch and leave the switch in the both position. The first thing you do after your engine starts is check the oil pressure. You'll find the oil pressure on the oil pressure gauge at the lower left-hand side of the instrument panel. The temperature of the oil makes a difference in how quickly you should see an indication. Warm oil is more runny, and the oil pressure indication should show within 30 seconds. When cold, it may take up to 1 minute. The green area on the oil pressure gauge is the normal operating range. At the low engine speeds you use right after starting up, the oil pressure should be above the red line, but not necessarily in the green. However, if the oil pressure gauge does not show some pressure within the 30-second or 1-minute time limits, then you want to shut down the engine immediately to prevent damage.